One Arvada neighborhood has stunning views for almost every resident. As a realtor specializing in Arvada, I'd argue Whisper Creek. Join me as I drive through Whisper Creek to see if you agree. Now heading into Whisper Creek, we've entered from the far west end off of Indiana Street, and we are heading east on 87th Drive. You'll see off to the left is some commercial, which I'll circle back to at the end of this tour. But just some background and history on Whisper Creek. So the first homes were completed in 2008. Two primary builders were Taylor Morrison and Remington. Remington being a local Colorado, and as a matter of fact, they're based out of Arvada, so really a local builder. It's a planned unit development, just meaning that the design, every element of the neighborhood was predetermined to get the approval to build the neighborhood. So that includes the number of houses, the different types of houses that are available, the parks, trails, swimming pools, all that stuff is predetermined ahead of time. There are a few different types of homes in the neighborhood, from single family homes to patio homes, and then some attached single family homes, and then lastly your multifamily townhome style homes. So right now we're in the southwest corner of the neighborhood, and you'll notice as we continue driving on this tour that Whisper Creek is known for their cul-de-sacs and their turnabouts. We'll hit quite a few on this tour. In this cul-de-sac, you see there's some painted lines that on the street, that's actually for a pickleball court. If you're driving down Indiana on a weekday evening, or definitely on a weekend, there's a good chance that you're going to see neighbors playing pickleball. Pickleball is a sport I have yet to try, but my understanding is it's the fastest growing recreation sport, and it's popular obviously in this neighborhood, but also in Arvada in general. The Apex Recreation Center, just 4 miles south of Whisper Creek, has indoor courts and leagues. And then I also believe that the satellite, one of the Apex satellite centers on 80th and Sims, just open up some outdoor pickleball courts. So like their pickleball over here. So off to straight ahead there, off to the west, you saw mountains. Unfortunately, it's become all too often in the summertime the last number of years that due to wildfires, there's just smoke and haze. So it's not a great day with, again, nearby wildfires being blown in by the winds, that it's not a great day for the views. But I do think that from a realtor's perspective, when people ask about Whisper Creek and what I tell them, and clearly there's the location is ideal, being in this northwest corridor. The neighborhood's beautiful, the homes are nice, you're conveniently located 15 miles from Boulder, 15 miles from downtown Denver. All that is, I guess, the status quo reply. But I think, in my opinion, from a real estate point of view, the unique aspect that makes Whisper Creek great is the percentage of homes that have a view. And I'd argue that I'm guessing probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the home in the neighborhood have some sort of view. And there's a few reasons for that. So looking straight ahead, you can kind of see the elevation of these houses. So the mountains to the west, Stanley Lake, which we'll cover here when we head to the east, the open space, all that make up these views. But I think the elevation of the neighborhood, which the neighborhood is 200 acres large, and it's slightly sloped. So that slope, I think, lends itself to a higher percentage of homes getting some sort of view. Not everybody's going to have, some people are going to have better views than others, but from a percentage standpoint, I think that a lot of the houses in Whisper Creek have some sort of view, again, whether that's partial mountain, Stanley Lake, the open space. So I mentioned that Whisper Creek is 200 acres big. 37% of that land is dedicated to open space. That also includes the bike trails and, the bike paths and hiking trails. So price point for Whisper Creek, on the low end, you're looking at the upper 400,000s, but probably it's better to think of it more 500,000. And then on the high end, with some of the larger single family homes that have tremendous views, those homes can get up into the upper 900,000s and even into the $1 million range. Whisper Creek, I think, is always or often compared to Village of Five Parks. That's for a couple reasons. One, the proximity, up the hill to the right behind these houses that we're seeing right now is the Village of Five Parks. So the two neighborhoods border each other. I also think the timeline lends itself for the comparison, as Village of Five Parks, their main phase finished in 2006, 2007, and as I already mentioned, Whisper Creek, the first homes were completed in 2008. And I think what people forget with all the development that has gone on in this northwest corridor, with easily 4,000 homes being built over the last 15 years, and the commercial retail businesses that have gone in the last 5 years or so, it's easy to forget that when the Village of Five Parks finished in 2006, 2007, it was the only community out this way. And so the next community to join it was Whisper Creek. So I think those are some of the reasons why the two neighborhoods are often compared with one another. So we're hitting a lot of the single family homes right now. In this part, you're looking at an entry of 650,000, probably safer to think over 700,000, and depending on upgrades, attributes, lot, location within the community, the views, again, you can easily get it into the 800,000s over here. I brought up Village of Five Parks. I think the two neighborhoods are very comparable in the variety of houses, the size of houses, the price point. I think that the two things that I would point out as a difference with Whisper Creek is the lot sizes and thus yard size are more consistently bigger over here in Whisper Creek. They're not huge lots by any means. Nothing built since the mid-90s in Colorado has had huge yards and lots, but compared to Five Parks, I think, which notoriously has smaller lots and thus smaller yards, you do get a little more of a yard in Whisper Creek. And then we can see the other point straight ahead with the three houses that are right directly in front of us is the three-car garage. There are some three-car garages in the Village of Five Parks, mostly of the tandem variety. And you see where Whisper Creek, a lot of the homes have the three individual bays that make up the three-car garage. So one of the roundabouts that I was talking about, unfortunately, with the trees and everything, you can't see, but we're now in the southeast corner of the neighborhood, and often a lot of the views in this part of the neighborhood are with Stanley Lake. Stanley Lake being very nearby Whisper Creek. Stanley Lake is the biggest body of water in city of Westminster. It's has multi-use function from it's the water storage and drinking water supply for Westminster, Northland, Thornton, but also a big recreation use to it. There's hiking, there's biking, there's camping, there's plenty of wildlife to check out. There's fishing that can be done, paddling that can be done. It is a paddle only reservoir. It doesn't allow the use of motors or trailered boats, but it's a great place to do a lot of outdoor activities in, and it's nice to have it so close by to Whisper Creek. So we're entering into more, back on 87th Drive, which we entered the neighborhood in. And off to the right, you have Whisper Creek Park and the pool and clubhouse, which I will circle back to, but we're going to make a left up here and check out the attached housing in the neighborhood. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a combination of attached single-family homes, decent size, getting up to 2,500 square feet with the basement. Most of those are going to begin in the upper 500,000 range, with some of the larger ones that have finished basements getting into the low 600,000 range. And more of your low maintenance type housing, and then also there are the townhouses up this way, coming up here in a second. These attached homes were the last phase to complete Whisper Creek in 2014, 2015. So they're not as old as some of the single family homes in the neighborhood. And the townhouses that I was mentioning to you, so these are anywhere from 2 to 3 bedrooms. Some of the smaller 2-bedroom variety, you could probably still get in the upper 400,000 range, but safer bet to think low 500,000s for those townhouses. But again, nice to have a variety of housing that lends itself to a variety of people, and I always think that the multifunctional housing diversifies the community, and I think that's a nice attribute of Whisper Creek. So heading here into the parking lot for, again, Whisper Creek Park. Off to the right, straight ahead now, you can see the clubhouse, and behind the clubhouse is the swimming pool for Whisper Creek. So there is a regular size, standard community size pool, but then there's also a separate gated area with a more of your splash pad type area for the younger kids, smaller kids. Also making up, besides the clubhouse and the pool, there is playground equipment. There is plenty of grass to run, jump, and play in. There's also, we'll see it up here off to the right in a second, you'll see that there's tennis courts and baseball fields. There's plenty of picnic benches. There's a covered gazebo. There's even a I guess you call it rock formation, pseudo amphitheater. So the baseball field up here to the right. So definitely the main focal point in the neighborhood. Lots of things to do. Lots of fun things to do. Lots of things to be active in. So now we're heading more to the northeast part of the neighborhood. this was primarily or was built out by Taylor Morrison. These homes are going to be anywhere from 600,000 up to these homes larger in a cul-de-sac backing up to Stanley Lake. Will be in the 900,000 to a million range. So very nice houses. Again, good size, and then really what's going to be the differentiator is just where the if there's a view or not. So often on these tours, I try to point out or drive by the most expensive house and the least expensive home in the neighborhood. But like most of our Denver metro market, and specifically here in Arvada, the lack of inventory, there is only one active listing, and matter of fact, it's pending. It's here on the right. I don't know the closed out price yet because it's like I said, it's pending or under contract, but it was listed at $1,050,000. Really nice home, good size, but it also backs to Stanley Lake and the mountain views. So the views are tremendous on that listing. So turning on the street here, I could argue that this is the most desirable street in the neighborhood. Up straight ahead, you could see, obviously it's in a cul-de-sac, but all these houses would have unobstructed views of Stanley Lake and the mountains, plus they back to open space, and they're on a higher elevation, so they also have walkout basements, because of how it's sloped. So again, with the combination of cul-de-sac size, views, again, I think this is probably the most desirable street in Whisper Creek. So as we continue on here, zooming out and we've done a lot in the neighborhood, and I've discussed a lot of the attributes and specs and such in the neighborhood, but I briefly touched on it. I think what's great about this area is the convenience of where you're located. So you're pretty much directly in between downtown Denver and downtown Boulder. So 15 miles to the northwest is Boulder, and slightly longer, 16, 17 miles would put you in downtown Denver. So from different standpoints, whether it's jobs, you could be working in Denver, you could be working in Boulder. One person might be working in Denver, one might be working in Boulder. So again, convenient for those type scenarios, but also there's lots of people enjoy going into downtown Denver and Boulder for recreation and dinner and things to do. So it makes it nice and convenient to be right in the center between those two big hubs. And then also, being in, people like living in Colorado for the mountains, and Whisper Creek puts you in the foothills, into the mountains, so it's easy access to the mountains, whether it's wintertime to ski or snowboard, to summertime with people camping, hiking, boating, all those kind of things that people head into the mountains to do. And then also, lastly, Golden is even closer, probably more 10, 12 miles just to the southwest of this neighborhood. So ideal location. So we're on 91st, we're heading west, and we're on 91st Lane right now. That would put us the furthest north in the neighborhood. Some of the houses to the right here, because of where they back up to, are a little more expensive than others here. This is also a Taylor Morrison product, and not as big as the first area that we covered with the two cul-de-sacs. So you're probably closer to the mid 600,000s into 700,000 for a lot of these houses, and you can tell the difference. You can just see that they're compared to the other ones, they are smaller. You're seeing 2-car garages on a lot. There are some 3-car garages, but you're seeing a lot of 2-car garages on these. And then whereas everywhere we've kind of covered the perimeter of Whisper Creek thus far, and I've pointed out that a lot of the houses, whether it's a higher elevation or back into Stanley Lake or the mountains, have had views. A lot of these homes still have some sort of view, but you do have where you're internal and not on the perimeter, and also not elevated. So just not as many views as we had with some of the earlier streets that we covered. So another park off to the right here. I don't necessarily, you have to walk in a little bit, but it's Panoramic Park, one of the favorites of my kids. And then another nice feature here in Whisper Creek is the Whisper Creek Police Station. It's led by Arvada Police Commander Michelle Moriarty. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. What's also obviously the safety standpoint is nice about this, but also Colorado being a drop-off site for, or allowing drop-offs for mail-in ballots, this is the often the site for dropping off those ballots. So some unique information, but I mentioned earlier the planned unit development also often includes schools. There's no school here in Whisper Creek, but the schools in the area are terrific. The elementary school being Micklejohn Elementary, which is we covered last time on our tour of Village of Five Parks. The middle school is Wayne Carl, which is just on the east side of Stanley Lake, and then the high school being Ralston Valley High School, and that is just 2 miles to the south. So all within close proximity, and all highly rated and highly thought of. So, but so we're kind of coming back to the center, and we'll be wrapping up this driving tour with the business commercial area that was over the last few years has been developed. Again, as I mentioned, for so long this area was growing very quickly with residential housing, but the commercial aspect of the neighborhood was definitely behind. In the last couple years, there's finally a grocery store up in the area, just adjacent to here in Candelas. There is a King Soopers. There is now a couple of gas stations, banks, and we're starting to see restaurants, breweries, all that enter into this greater northwest corridor. Here in Whisper Creek, off to the right, we do have the Goddard preschool. There are public ones nearby at Van Arsdale and Witt Elementary, and then a small shopping center here. A lot of I guess you would call it medical, health, wellness. There's Harmony Veterinarian that we've taken our pets to for over a decade now. That used to be located in Village of Five Parks, but you see dental, vision, and then you got to throw in your Domino's, because you never know when you need a last minute dinner idea. And then a 7-Eleven off to the left there. And then what every neighborhood needs is their neighborhood Starbucks. So that's off to the right. And like I said, typically we would have a great mountain view here, but you can kind of just see the smoke and the haze. If you like this neighborhood tour, click here to see all my other Arvada neighborhood tours. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions about any Arvada neighborhood. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.